You can knock me down, but I'll find a way. She said you don't know. She said you don't know. Eyes wide, tongue-tied, midnight. You can say all that you want, but you and I were meant for this. You know, sometimes we hide behind this illusion that we're done. Oh, please see that you're wrong in this. I don't fall in love cause I'm here tonight. I don't wanna say it but it just feels right. I took a pill just to pass the time. I wanna stay at the back of your mind. We've seen it all before, and don't get me wrong, but I'm done with these games. But I'll hold on to faith. You and I are stuck on this. I can't seem to let it go. It's not too late to show it to face this time. About the way that you can't love. We should've never let this go. No, we were the catch on the summer nights. Kids in the street that got it right. Every time I failed to let go, every time I failed to let go. We've seen it all before, and don't get me wrong, but I'm done with these games. But I'll hold on to faith. You and I are stuck on this. I can't seem to let it go. It's not too late to show it to face this time. You can knock me down, but I'll find a way. She said you don't know. She said you don't know. If this is what you want, if you wanna go, I'll have to go and let it breathe. But I'll be waiting here, you see. I don't know if everything will be alright. Sometimes you gotta let go. Guess I gotta let you go.
afternoon, good morning, what's up, good evening to everyone, and to our friend Capturing Details, new follower. I think I remember seeing you jumping in during the last stream, but that was a while ago. It's been a little while since I've done a stream. Let's tweak my levels a little bit here. What's up? Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing? Today, well, I guess I should apologize for bailing on the stream last night. The weather turned out to be not what we were hoping it was going to be. It was supposed to be not clouds. There was clouds. And that would have thrown off what I was trying to do. Could have done some other stuff then, but kind of didn't have a backup plan. And yeah. So you were probably in either Nerdwino's stream or Astro Canuck. Yeah. Evening, you must be in one of our European viewers, so that's cool. Because it's just about almost noon here in SoCal. Beautiful day. Went for a walk outside, got all warm, and now I'm in my shorts and flip-flops. So I drink my little bit of caffeine drink. So yeah, last night didn't work out. Unfortunately, with the weather, hoping for Thursday. Tonight I won't be available to get the telescope out and the stream, so I wanted to do something during the day today. And you were in Italy. Oh, very good, very good. Well, welcome. So today I want to work on. I got sort of miscellaneous things to work on and to talk about. And I made a list. I've got some data to process from the other night. I actually already processed it, but might do it again just because it'll be fun to work on the stream. And it's cool data. I really like it. And hopefully we'll be gathering some more data Thursday night, tomorrow night. So, I inhaled a little bit of my own spit there. The main thing that I want to work on is see if we can kind of figure out some technical details on auto guiding for strainwave gear mounts. Strainwave gear mounts, otherwise known as harmonic drive telescope mounts, are kind of all the rage these days. They have been for a couple years now, and I've got a number of users in the Discord server who have and use them and that are building them, same as I am. So we're kind of, as a community, working on, expanding our knowledge on how best to mechanically design and build these things, but also control them, auto guide them. And as I'm coming to realize, they have a significant amount of nuance to how the strategy to auto guiding strainwave gear mounts that we don't have in that are not present in a traditional type of telescope mount. So if you don't know what a strainwave gear drive is, I'm guessing you probably do. I'm gonna switch the background vibes to a more chill vibe, chill focus. It's gonna be full of technical details. This stream. So take a look. The strainwave gearing Wikipedia article is really perfect for describing these types of devices, and this really wonderful GIF animation here just shows us exactly what's going on in these things. So this is significantly different than a traditional type of telescope mount, which will use a worm gear, a totally different type of mechanical assembly and mechanical interface. So there's totally different forces going on. So the idea, they will require, it should intuitively require significantly different software tuning algorithms for making them work the way we want them to work. So strainwave gears has these cool, the green part is the wave generator. It's an oval shaped thing, and it rotates inside of a flexible gear called the flex spline. and that the wave generator pushes the flex spline to engage with the teeth as it rotates around. So we'll come back to more on some of that. The telescope mounts, the most popular is probably the CW-AM5. What's up, Eucnus, that's it. We figured that out last time. Entropic Universe, good morning to you. Oh, that would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, yeah. It's like, keep your eye on this tooth. It goes there, and then there, and then there, right? So yeah, if you put a little marker on there, but you can follow them with your cursor here, right? So how many of you guys are using Strainwave gear drives? Capturing details, I'm assuming by your name. You're also an astrophotographer. That's a very astrophotographer sounding name. That's the idea, yes, you are. You're getting very sleepy. So my Strainwave gear mount, let me bring up the SolidWorks document here. We're gonna look at a couple of different things here today, back and forth. Okay, we've got somebody with an AM5 and with an AM5N. Yep. What are your guys' your event over on YouTube? And Ashlotaka, hey, what's up to you on the AM5M? AM5N, that's the new one. So how's your guys' guiding, auto guiding experience been with that mount? Has it been acceptable? Has it been good? What types of guiding errors are you getting? That's kind of what we're talking about today. Oh, okay, Milky Ways and nightscapes, yeah. Yeah, well, Milky Way is, I guess it's not, it's wide field, deep sky, right? Well, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, there's a couple of main advantages to the Strainwave gear drive. One of them is that there is zero backlash. There's no backlash because the gear is the red gear, the flex spline is being deformed, it's being flexed and forced in. So there's no play in the gear teeth. So no backlash is one of the main advantages. The other advantage is they provide extremely high torque, lots of torque. And I guess the third advantage is a small compact package. So these Strainwave gear mounts are small, compact, relatively lightweight, and portable. So 10 millimeter. Okay, that's super wide. Yeah. Yeah, constant tension, but that comes with a major drawback. With engineering, it's always a series of trade-offs, right? It's always, you don't get anything for free because physics. And while Strainwave gear drives are great, they're not necessarily great. So as I've been doing some reading, Jose, what's up to you? Hopefully, all good things. Let me change my viewport background here in SolidWorks to get to dark mode. Incredible guiding, yeah, okay. Average into, yeah, okay. Wow, okay. Yeah, that sounds very good, your event, yeah. So your event is the guys are talking about the CW-AM5 mount. This is like probably the most popular telescope mount in existence now. I mean, it hasn't been around for that long, but it's definitely dominant. It's got a nice looking little red and black, package here. And by all accounts, these are outstanding, excellent devices. And people generally have nothing but good things to say about them. But there can be somewhat of a lottery as to whether or not you get a good one. Oh, cool, your event. Okay. So here's my mount, a bit of a different configuration, but they essentially do the same thing, and it's the same, pretty much the same class and size of strain-wave gear drive, harmonic reducer as the AM5. So this should be basically as capable. Although now I'm now my configuration looks like that. So what am I getting at here? What I'm getting at is over here. So you've got a long thread here on these EWO forums about guiding strain-wave gear mounts. And we've got a lot of great information from the user 57yay. W7A. His name is Chen. He starts signing his posts as Chen. So Chen gives us a lot of detailed information, and we're gonna use his information and look at some of my data and see if we can kind of figure some stuff out. Now, unfortunately, we can't actually put any of this knowledge to practice because, well, right now it's daytime, so that wouldn't be very useful. But also, I think the weather's looking not great tonight. I'm not going to be here tonight, so I can't do it anyways. Tomorrow night, hopefully we'll be able to put this into practice. So we'll do some theory now, and we'll do some theory. We'll look at some stuff, see if we can kind of get a plan, and then tomorrow night we can hopefully execute on that plan. Weather is still looking good for tomorrow. What's up, Myth? By the way, yes, I it's probably been about a week since I've streamed, so I gotta try to do it regularly. But I was, life, worth working on other stuff, right? So let's take a look at the forecast. See, updated forecast. Last night the forecast was looking decent, and then turned out to be not decent. So hopefully that's not the case. Tomorrow's forecast looks pretty damn good. I think it's just, really, it must just be really difficult to forecast these high, wispy cirrus clouds that we've been getting. Myth, like, it's probably much more difficult to forecast that versus something like cumulus clouds or rainstorms that, where it's like certainly going to be clouds, and so this is a lot more variables at play probably. So but tomorrow night's forecast looks very good. A little bit substandard seeing, but that should be fine for what we're trying to do. But then the seeing gets better after 9, so we'll see. Hopefully that holds. I just learned, Jose, I just learned of that brand recently. Yeah, this is one of these Chinese brands. Nice looking hardware. My radar, okay, cool. Yep. Yeah, this looks like some pretty nice looking hardware here. I like the sort of gray there. Their 20 looks solid too. 2700. Yep. Yeah, also pretty nice. And what's up, Bigley, by the way? How are you today? All right, so let's read a little bit aloud. This thread is a little bit difficult to follow because the guys are kind of start talking about one thing and then it kind of goes into another thing. And this user Chen gives some really great details. It's 2 years old now, and he mentions talking about writing up like a detailed white paper or something. But I don't know that if we've seen that. So anyways, we'll kind of skim through and read through it here. Their Discord is really active. Well, that's good to know, Jose. Yeah, that sounds like an interesting. Are those mounts? Are these guys using OnStep, or do they have their own custom firmware for for control on here? Do you guys know? I know some of these brands use, some of these Chinese companies use OnStep, which is, you know, it's open source software, so they're certainly, you know, entitled to do that. Well, this looks kind of familiar, doesn't it? I hate when websites do. I hate this thing. This is like a thing on a lot of, like AliExpress is like, is they put the picture, but you can't click. It just gives you this little overview window, which is like, what? How is that useful? You know, let me see. Let me get the full. I should be able to copy image address and then. There we go. Yeah, copy the image address and then just paste that in a new tab. Now we can get the full screen. But yeah, that's looking kind of familiar, isn't it, Bigley? Just slightly larger. White box or bust. Okay, so our guy Chen. Okay, so guys are talking about max pulse duration, which is one of the settings that we have in PhD for guiding these mounts. Max pulse durations are to keep PhD2 from wrongly issuing pulses to compensate for large errors that are not caused by the mount itself. For example, if you make a mistake in centroid estimation, a wind gust has come through, or an owl or airplane flies past your guide star, etc., you want to ignore those large momentary corrections so it has nothing to do with the mount. Here's the nitty-gritty details on how to estimate the max pulses that you really need, and why the ASI error defaults, for example, are nonsensically large. So this is the case with PhD as well. Let me bring up my...
Great success.
Let me read up on... bring up my PhD settings. I've got my mini PC running over here. PhD algorithms, we see max RA duration and max deck duration set to 2500 is the default. So that's I'll give you the TLDR. The TLDR is auto-guiding strain wave gear mounts requires a significantly different approach, different math than a traditional worm drive style mount. Oh, well, you've redeemed a channel point for great success. I don't know if we've had great success yet, but you're welcome to do that, to redeem those. So that should be intuitively obvious because strain wave gear mounts are completely different than worm drive mounts, completely different mechanics involved, completely different, mechanics, completely different physics involved. And we're going to have an ad break here. Let me snooze that so I don't lose some of you guys. Yes, so that is one of the, harmonics like short pulses. So we're going to get, that's what our friend Chen here explains as to why that is. But the bottom line is harmonics are completely different than harmonic drives. Strain wave gear drives are completely different than a worm gear. So we need different math to guide them because we have totally different types of gear meshing going on. So, and PhD, and it seems like the ASI Air software, which I assume is based on PhD. I think they just embedded the PhD code into their software. PhD is written for traditional style telescope mounts that use worm gears. And so the software is really not, the software and the algorithms for guiding are really not tuned. They're really not meant for strain wave gear mounts. It's far from optimal. So the settings and the tuning we have to do are quite a bit different. And so basically PhD has not been updated, has not caught up to strain wave gear mounts. At least as of 2 years ago, when this thread was a thing. But there's, as far as I know, there's no new versions. Nobody's updated it. Maybe there's not good math to do it. Maybe there's not people in the community to be able to do that. I certainly don't know how to would know how to do the math to do that. But we will go with the info that we have in here for now. My radar, cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool, Myth. Yeah, maybe we'll look at that when we get bogged down or bored of looking at PhD stuff. All right, so okay. Read on only if you're interested in the technical aspects. I may sort of skim through this. So first, let's assume the mount is perfectly smooth. A periodic error is a sine wave. So yeah, if the mount was perfect, then any periodic error would be a sine wave because this thing is rotating in a circle, and then if you plot that out, you get a sine wave. So we can understand that. A single non-zero term in a Fourier series for those who are mathematically inclined. Fourier series, boy, I definitely took that in college and don't remember it. So I know that's a thing. It's like a series transformation. I don't know. That's, yeah. For those who are mathematically inclined, I used to be. We could probably learn about Fourier series transformations, but not on this stream. If the curve has no high harmonics, it will look like a sine wave with one fundamental frequency. The period of that sine wave is 430.82 seconds for your particular mount, equal to 1 sidereal day divided by 200. So he's talking about the data that comes from ZWO. Let's see. So ZWO publishes their periodic error, and I guess I don't see that data, but we can see that in my mount as well. 430. So if I bring up, let me bring up my PhD. So this is my guide data for the other night. Sunday night, I was able to sneak out. And I got an hour and 14 minutes of guide data. So if we look at my RA, I get this sort of an interesting drifting over time, but for the most part, we can see a sine wave. It's not smooth because nothing is perfect, but it's rather sinusoidal. So it's sort of gentle here and then steep down here. So that's interesting. But the period being 400 seconds, which we can see, right? Because we see a peak here near 1600, and then the next peak is in the 2000 range. So that would be about 400 seconds, and 2000 to 2400. So that seems to be about roughly what I see in the data for my mount, for my drive. 101. That's pretty good. Okay, Twitch really wants to do. I've been using. I have been using predictive PEC, Bigly. Predictive PEC. We'll kind of come back to that in this thread where these guys are talking about tuning their mounts. They are not using predictive PEC for the algorithm, and so this has been giving me the results I've been getting, which have been okay. But we're trying to do much better. So we're gonna read this and we're gonna try to manually tune it on the next session. Next time I get it out. So I think they're not using predictive PEC in here. So we'll read on a bit and then we'll see. So you were using predictive PEC and it made it worse for you. That's interesting. Perhaps Myth, especially because this is data sitting out on my balcony where it kind of vibrates a little bit. My balcony is potentially wobbly. So, okay, let me run a quick Twitch, 30-second Twitch ad. For you guys on Twitch, it'll be back in 30 seconds. Yeah, Bigley, I don't know. I might have just. Oh no, you're a subscriber, so you should still have me between the ad break. So there was another guide that I read about that they recommended using predictive PEC for string wave gear mounts, and that seems to be working for me, but it's not quite good enough. So yeah, maybe that's it. I noticed in here, I'm looking, and I haven't adjusted any of these really parameters, but I noticed there's a period length, and it's at 430.23. So maybe I can actually measure the actual period length, and then maybe I can manually tune predictive PEC. So that may be something we could do. Okay. Welcome back from the ad. If you guys on Twitch don't know, there's a plugin for Firefox that will auto mute ads. Ooh, I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to be talking about this on Twitch. Anyways, if you search for that, that's a thing. You can't block them because they're like embedded in the stream, but it can at least mute them. So. Entropic Universe on YouTube. Hello. uBlock Origin. Oh, does uBlock Origin do that as well? Let's have to check that out. Also, if you're a subscriber, you don't see ads. So, yep. Yeah, well, just dump Chrome. I don't see what the big, like, a lot of people kind of made a big deal about that. It was just like, who cares? Like, just don't use Chrome. Like, I don't. Oh, man. That is a bummer, Bigley. All right, let's read on here. Okay, so, yeah, here we go. Now we get to some nitty gritty. The slope, first derivative of the sine wave, is basically a 2 pi, a times 2 times pi divided by 430.82 times cosine of 2 pi t. So there's a formula here. Where t is the time in seconds, a is the amplitude of the sine wave. In this case, a is equal to half peak to peak amplitude of the periodic error. So I don't think we actually really need to do the math on that. We'll see later. Oh, very cool. All right. Very cool. Good to know. 7 degrees, man. I'm sitting here in shorts, and I have my flip-flops on today. So sorry, Bigley. Sorry. Yes. So I probably shouldn't be talking about that. Shh. Okay, the worst case slope are at t equals multiple of pi. Worst case slope magnitude. Okay, put some real world numbers. Assume A is 25 arc seconds, which is the peak to peak periodic error. Peak to peak would be 50 seconds in that case. So worst case slope, 35 arc seconds per second. So we can actually measure this.
Yes, science.
Science indeed. Yeah, so, but this is just for harmonics here, for harmonic drive mounts, Myth. So you don't have a harmonic drive mount, so this I don't think this applies to you. Okay, so let's say you're guiding at 0.5x sidereal rate, which is most mounts. The mount will move at 7.5 arc seconds per second so that the guide pulse is on. Well, as you're going to see, Myth, that's maybe not the case. The TLDR bottom line is that strain wave gear mounts are nice. They're cool. We like them. It kind of makes it possible to do DIY because we can buy these self-contained units. However, when it comes to ultimate performance, a worm gear is still superior. Can be superior. Think like a very expensive high-end worm gear mount, high precision machined worm gear mount like the Los Mandy mount that our friend Dan has, versus a ZWO AM5. And the ZWO mount, small, compact, lightweight, travels nicely, but that Los Mandy mount, when properly tuned, is almost certainly going to outperform the AM5 mount, the strain wave gear mount. Okay, what that says is that for a smooth mount, you only need to apply a correction pulse that is 0.35 divided by 0.75 seconds long, and that is less than 50 milliseconds. Now, in real life, a mount will have higher harmonics, especially strain wave gear mounts, and some strain wave gears have smaller, blah, blah, blah. Strain wave gears have been around for a while now. He says the original Mars rover used them to drive their wheels. So there's a NASA paper about them. Kind of skipping over a lot of details here. So yeah, there's a lot of more technical details here. Yes. Yeah, and it's important to remember too that that error is the average over time. So if I show you my data again here, we see the total. My total for this guide session shows 1.2 arc seconds total error, but that includes. So that should that I'm pretty sure that excludes the dither, which is all the little gray bars is where it dithers. It excludes those sections, but it includes, for some reason, you can see here I had some really bizarre issues in deck guiding here, which might have been a cable snag, or I don't know, wind or something going on, or this was actually later in the session and some clouds started rolling in, so it could have been clouds too. So this 1.2 arc seconds error includes this bad stuff here. So I really might not be, the average of the good stuff is probably better. So. Yeah, probably part of the problem with yours. I remember we were trying to balance your rig, Myth, is that the axes, even with the clutches disengaged, were kind of binding. So it was really tricky to tell. It wasn't super smooth, so it was really tricky to tell where the balance is. Yeah, so, I mean, your Vanta, I definitely seem to agree. Cost per performance ratio and size and convenience. It's really all there. But when you want to get the most out of it, then we have these certain different nuances to deal with. Hey, what's up, cheap ass trio? I know it's cheap ass trio, but I like saying cheap ass trio. It's funny to me. Ass trio. Okay, so we're gonna moving on here. So it's getting into some more of the theory. Let's hide that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so he says here, I really have no idea where 1000 milliseconds and 2000 millisecond numbers As ZWO is quoting come from, they make no sense to me at all. Guiding pulses are there to compensate for mount errors, and the mount errors should not get anywhere close to 7.5 arc seconds per second needed to need a 1000 millisecond pulse. There's 3 of you. The 3 amigos of Cheap Astro. Oh, you've got your own peer. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so some more details here. Ideal guiding for strain wave gear is to issue many small pulses at high rates, as we mentioned before. Currently, PHD2 can only issue 1 pulse per camera exposure. That is why we need to keep exposure short. I use 0.5 second guide exposures to get high correction rates. Yeah, 0.5 second. So the in the past, it's been recommended to use slower pulses for guiding because you end up chasing the seeing. The star slightly moves around because of the seeing, so if you're guiding, then you're going to be, go there, oh quick, there. But it's not actually drifting; it's just the stars wobbling because of the wobbly atmosphere. However, now since we have multi-star guiding in PhD, that's no longer much of an issue because all the effects of the seeing get averaged out over a bunch of stars. So yeah, Myth. So you're using 2 seconds. That's probably right for you. Remember, this is specifically for strain wave gear mounts. Different thing, right? So the main downside we have currently as I understand, for using really short guide exposures, half a second is going to be sensitivity and being able to see enough stars, right? So so I've been using like 1.5 seconds, Bigley. So I'm gonna try half a second my next time out, as well as some of these other things, as well as some of these other suggestions that we're gonna go through. But yeah, so the main downside that we have for shorter guide exposures is gonna mean lower signal to noise ratio, less stars. I'm not gonna be able to see stars as well, which means you need a higher sensitivity guide camera or a wider field. So Bigley, you've got the off-axis guider, so that's going to be super narrow on your field of stars that you're going to have to use to find guide stars, and then that's going to be even harder because you have shorter guide exposures. So exactly. Yep, Myth. Yeah, so you need more time. Your event uses half a second. Gotcha. Yep. Wow, that's exciting. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. Yeah, we'll see. I'm really looking forward to. I was hoping to test all this stuff out last night. Cheap Astro uses 3 seconds. Are you using a strain wave gear drive mount, Cheap Astro? Taka uses 1 second guide exposures. Yeah. These guys are saying lower is better. So he says, I have started to model a guide system that issues 4 or 8 guide pulses spread out evenly per exposure. So PhD can only send 1 pulse per exposure. So if somebody updates, if PhD can be updated to send multiple guide pulses per exposure, then we could run like 2 second exposures, and and it sends like 8 guide pulses, then maybe that would be better. So he says he's got simulations he can guide with a 2 second exposure time. So I don't know what the deal with that is. Gotcha. Yeah, Cheap Astro. Yeah, so we're talking specifically about guiding for strain wave gear mounts. So these faster exposure times would not apply to an EQ5. Lower is better is the consensus. Yep. But it's lower is better because I think it's important to understand the reason, the logic behind that. Lower is better because PhD can only issue 1 pulse per camera exposure. If it could do multiple pulses, correction pulses per exposure, then longer, like 1 or 2 seconds would be, or 2 seconds would probably be better. So. Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs as to why, it can't. If it just wasn't written to do that, if it can be updated to do that, that goes well beyond my understanding. So let's see. Yeah, so it's not the camera exposure rate that's important, it's the correction rate. The rate is about 0.35 arc seconds per second of time. So this is a little bit confusing to read about because we're talking about arc seconds, which is a unit of measurement of radial displacement, right? Not time, right? An arc second is a radial distance, is a distance, not a time. So when we say arc seconds per second, right, we're saying, like 0.0001 degrees per second, right? So it's a unit of length divided by time, radial length. Yeah. The whole arc minute. When you break a degree, and then we break a degree up into arc minutes, and then arc seconds. The fact that we use the word minute and second can be confusing because we use that as a unit of measurement of time, but those are not. An arc minute and an arc second are not a unit of measurement of time. So an arc minute per second, right, or an arc second per second is a speed. So it's a distance over a time. Gotcha. Yeah, your event. Yeah. So I've got like the crappiest guide camera. It's a color camera, and I know color cameras are going to be less sensitive, so that doesn't help. It's like the cheapest guide camera, and at the time, for what I was doing, it was totally adequate, totally fine. So I may need to upgrade my guide camera. So we'll see. I do have a 30 millimeter guide scope. So that also probably doesn't help. It helps in that it's a wider field of view, so I can get more stars in the field of view, but being a smaller aperture means it's going to be less sensitive, right? So yeah, if I got a larger guide scope, maybe I need a larger guide scope and a more sensitive camera. That's cool. If you upgrade the guide cam, which means you can use your old cam for a different scope. There you go. Just get a new cam, yeah. Right, there you go. Yeah. Let's see. So if you don't issue fast enough guide pulses, you'll need a longer guide. However, if you wait 3 seconds before issuing another guide pulse, that means your mount has moved itself for 1 arc second before the corrected measure is taken. Accumulating 3 seconds worth of error on a strain wave gear mount is way too large for good guiding at that drift rate. And correcting only every 3 seconds will cause the axis RMS error to be a whopping 0.7 arc seconds. Yep. Okay. Use rapid results. Right. It's just that with today's PhD 2 and ASI Air guiding, we can only issue 1 guide per pulse per exposure. And because of that, we have no choice but to make very short exposures. For example, if you take a 2-second exposure, compute the centroid position, issue 4 correction pulses that are separated by 0.5 seconds between that exposure and the next exposure. If you estimate the first derivative of the centroid changes, you can actually issue predictive pulse widths and get the error to drop below 0.1 arc seconds. Okay. Yeah. Indeed. Okay, now we get some graphs. Here's some figures. So, mount periodic error, smooth curve, graph porn. Oh yeah. Yep, graphs really always very much help me to visualize, you know, the math and what's going on. There are definitely some lines. So mount periodic error. So your RA is like drifting. And estimated mount periodic error derivative. So remember, the derivative of a curve is a tangent line, right? So if this is a sine wave, so that's why we have straight lines, right? So then we have correction pulses. It doesn't have labeled axes though. So then the actual RA track looks like this. As the slope of the periodic error gets large, that would be the derivative of the periodic error. The pulses had to be much longer. Yeah, so the derivative, you can see this is a straight line. It's kind of so the slope changes, right? This is a gradual slope, longer slope, longer slope. So the steeper the slope is, the longer the guide pulse duration is what he's getting at here. That's why this is a long correction pulse. And at the same time, the actual RA tracking error has a larger error. Yeah, so we have a larger error here. The main imaging camera will see the star move in RA according to the actual RA track. Notice the RA track zigzags. The only way to improve is to shorten the exposure time. "100% agree with you, Yeravant. In my case, my stars are not round, so I'm not there. And in order to understand where we're going with tuning and how to make things improve it better, we need to understand the the underlying physics, the underlying fundamentals of what's happening, so that we can improve on it. If my stars were perfectly round like they were when I was using my little Rokinon lens, I didn't worry about any of this because, yeah, they're right. My stars were round. It was done. I'm like, whatever. I don't care. But now my stars are not round, and I want my stars to be round. Damn it! So I want my stars to be round enough that I'm willing to look at graphs if it helps me make them round. Yeah. So by doing multiple shorter correction pulses, we get an RA track that is it's more zigzaggy, but the total difference is less, I think, is the point here. So notice that the RA track error is now smaller by a factor of 2. The pulses are shorter, but there are more of them. The total area under the curve of the pulses is actually the same. Yep. So it's like we're doing the same amount of corrections, just more frequently. This is a very long way of, stating the same thing that we've already established, that we need short guide pulses for short exposures for strain wave gear mounts. No, I'm not sure what you mean by astronomy tools. Is this like a website calculator or something? Maybe I've seen it before. cool. Okay, we'll maybe check that out. Okay, so now we get into some nitty gritty of what I actually want to look at here. So ZWO publishes with their mounts. I think they send this. This looks like a picture of a piece of paper, and they send this with your with your mount. It's periodic error report. So you can see his periodic error goes from a little more from +5, peak to peak, a little from 5 to a little more than 5 to -10. So peak to peak is a little more than 15 arc. I think that's arc minutes, or is that arc seconds? Again, we don't have arc seconds. It is labeled. Excuse me. I'm not sure if the data that ZWO sends comes from PhD, but my data, you can get this data from from PhD. Yeah, so ZWO doesn't provide the numerical data, just some plots. Notice in the second figure, the partial zoom, the cycles don't even repeat. So there's a subharmonics present. The peaks in that cycle are distinctly different than the previous two, and those two don't look perfectly alike either. So this is characteristic of strain wave drive gears. Yeah, caused mostly by the flexible spline gear. Yeah. So, and then he links to this here. So this gear, this thing is flexing. So it's going to be like a little bit different. It's going to flex a little bit differently. What's up? Thank you for the follow. The May Orwest. The Theme or West. What's up? Thanks for the follow. Glad to have you here.
What type of dog is this?
What type of dog is that? Yes, ZWO, right. Test every mount. That's my understanding. Ah, Sean Mayor West. Mayor West. There it is. Mayor West. I love reading people's names. What's up, brother? How are you? The Mayor West. Okay, so this, by the way, is the reason you cannot create a fixed periodic error correction for a strain wave mount. Yeah, so it's not mathematically possible because you can use some predictive methods. So we were talking about using predictive PEC. Yeah. Yeah, totally, Yervant. I don't think, I mean, it's not like the balcony shouldn't be moving if I'm not out on it. If I'm out walking around, it definitely will, wobble the telescope. But I don't think, it shouldn't be moving around that much, as long as I'm not out there. But, yes, structures move. That's definitely true. And, so, I'll get some data to compare with. Hopefully next week we go out for the, out to the desert. We'll set up on the hard ground. And we'll see if maybe I get better guiding out there. But I think it's going to be tricky to tell that also, because at that point it could just be the, slightly vibrating, platform where the telescope is set up could, I would assume, would manifest similar to the seeing conditions. So, Mayor West, yeah, dude, we should, if you'd like to come out, hit me up. it would be dope to have you come out for the next. We'll probably go out to the desert next week, maybe towards the end of next week, middle or end of next week, is the next new moon. So it would be dope to have you come hang with us. We'll take a look at astronomy tools in a minute then. Your event, yeah, thanks. Cool. Yeah, maybe we'll check those out, Myth. Also, my tripod is not the most stable either. I'm working with a lot of, I'm working with a lot of not ideal conditions here. So, yeah, probably not the Owens Valley, but near it, next to the Owens Valley. Let me. We'll probably go to Panamint Valley again. Which is just BLM land. So Owens Valley is up here, and Panamint Valley is down here. So it's like it's right here. It's kind of like this spot right there, north of Searless Valley, about 30 miles north of Searless Valley. So just give you an idea of where we're going. Let's see. No, not too far from there. I think you're probably thinking of, I remember there was that one trip you guys came and met us at Walker Pass, in the mountains, and we did a hike. I remember there was like a hill we hiked up. That was, so it's all kind of in this area. But Walker Pass is up here. That would be Walker Pass campground there, which is a cool spot. I dug that spot a lot. It's kind of not ideal for astronomy stuff. It's nicer during the day to be around there than Panamint Valley. So I guess it is kind of similar part of the country at least. So yeah. So that's probably where we'll go. All right, so okay, so getting into the nitty-gritty. Cool. Yeah, so we won't go to Walker. I'm sure we won't go to Walker Pass. We'll probably just go to Panamint Valley, which is better for astronomy. It's darker there, less interesting during the day to hike and stuff. It's kind of just a big desert valley. But one thing that's cool is it's just north of China Lake, which is the Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake. So yeah, we get you may get free air shows. So we were there last month. We got a couple of times we saw 3 F-35s blasting south down the valley, coming in low and going by, and then they saw them climb up, and they looked like they were doing some dogfighting or something, and then there was like a C-17 flying south through the valley. Yeah, it was pretty dope. It was pretty dope to see. And I wasn't there to see it, but our friend Dan was there the day before us. And, he was just camped out with his tent, and stuff. And he said, the F-35 literally buzzed him, I don't know, a couple hundred feet, maybe less than that, right over his tent. He obviously saw him and just buzzed right over him. So, super awesome. Unless you don't see it coming, then it might be kind of a thing. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to have the cameras ready. So, this is right south of, at the north end of this valley is, this canyon here, which is known as, they call this Star Wars Canyon. And, so yeah, Father Crowley Vista Point, or this overlook here, I think it's one of these, so there's this deep canyon here, and they go just blasting through the canyon. So photographers set up there and just get images of the fighter jets flying through there. Yeah. North of the road, yeah. We just Google it. Rainbow Canyon. Yeah. So like these types of views. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that frickin'. Yeah. Yeah, so C-17s. Yeah, so we saw this guy, something like this. Something like this right here, flying. It's really weird to see the big airplane flying low like that. So, yeah. Oh, wow, cool. That's awesome. Okay, so finally getting to the nitty-gritty here is measuring this slope of the graph here. Awesome, Myth. Okay. So we try to eyeball some part of the curve that has the largest slope. So that's this green dotted line. And then he's using some tools to measure it. So we can do that with my data in SolidWorks. So we know the slope of the line is dy over dx. So according to easy draw units, that was 5.07. So he used just a tool called easy draw to measure the slope of this line. 5.07 to estimate real units, took the distance. We know that the vertical scale is 15 arc seconds per easy draw units, or, yeah. I think we can just figure this out. Yeah, so he's converting it to the units that he measured with this thing, but I think we can figure that out. I don't think I need to do that because I have the measurements in my oh, because it's not to scale. Okay, I might need to follow him more closely, but I will use SolidWorks to measure. Okay, so let's take a look at my remote desktop, and we will analyze my RA frames, and we'll look at kind of this middle section here. There's kind of, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, maybe these three here are pretty similar. So that seems pretty, this seems pretty typical. These two here particularly look pretty similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here, and then I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Okay, screenshot, and I'll do a new document in SolidWorks. There, in this thread that I'm reading, there is another guy that that used SolidWorks to draw this line also. So if you don't know, in SolidWorks you can sketch a picture. You can import a picture. So we'll do a sketch, and we go insert a. I always have to remember where that is. Tools. I believe it's Sketch Tools, Sketch Picture. And then, oops, you guys can't see that. So you start a new sketch, and then we go Tools, Sketch Tools, Sketch Picture. And then we go find that picture that we just, which was a screenshot. And grab that. And now we can scale it, but I don't need to. I don't really care. All I need to do is draw a line and add some dimensions to it. So I'll do another drawing on top of it. And I'm just going to draw a line. And I'm just kind of eyeballing the average slope. The average slope of this line here. Something, probably something like that. Right, my blue line and their blue line. Might be a little bit tricky to see that on the stream. Oops, that made it a little bit wrong. Okay, so now, oh, I actually kind of have a little bit of a problem in that I don't have the units of measurements. Yeah, I scaled this, so I need to see the units on the screen. I can actually, I think I can figure it out. So just further eyeballing, we do have a bit of a scale there. Yeah. So I can add some dimensions on here to measure that. And then I got 13.232 and 8.85. And then this is so I can do is I can move this like that and then delete that dimension. Trying to make this easy on myself because I have these the dotted lines here are the measurements on the graph, so I'm just kind of trying to make these yeah, maybe something like that. That's probably reasonable. Okay, now I got some data. And I gotta make a piss. Let me run a Twitch ad break while I go do that. I'll be right back. All right. All right. Let's see if we can figure this out now. So, oh geez. Oh wow, I clicked on the worst possible thing to click on. All right, so we're trying to estimate the slope of periodic error. Did I go back too far? I went back too far. Here we go. Okay, so the slope of my line, dy over dx, so is going to be, well, dx is 13.32 divided by, or no, sorry, plus 9.7, which actually, I can make this easier on myself. I can dimension that. It's over-defined, but that's fine. We don't care about that. Okay, so my slope here is, I'm actually pretty close to 1, which will make the math a bit easier. So that's okay. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I can just even, since I'm pretty much fudging it anyways. What if I just make this 1? Yeah, since I'm just fudging this line, that's actually kind of close anyways. So we will, yeah, sorry, I forgot to turn that down. I thought I was being kind of cool, like while I went away for the ad break, turn the background music up, right? While I'm not talking, and then come back, and then, but I forgot to turn it back down. So, thank you. I appreciate you guys letting me know that. Yeah, it looks like 1. So I actually just kind of fudged it so that it would be exactly 1. It's pretty close. So now it's not actually 1 because the X and the Y graph on the actual scale is not 1, but this will make it easier to figure out what it should be because I just need to multiply by 1. Yeah, so, oh my God, this website, dude. Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's pretty funny. 0.9 is 1, you know. In this case, yeah, you can tell I'm an engineer. In this case, I mean, we're just eyeballing it anyways. So there's really no point in trying to be really accurate when you're eyeballing something because you're only as good as eyeballing it. So you might as well fudge it, like call it 1, right? Like it's pretty close to that anyways. And what we're doing right now is it's basically going to give us like a rough rule of thumb for starting this tuning process. So which may not even work. So it's not really it's not really worth investing a ton of time into getting this really accurate. So this thing is really awful. So I should just be able to yeah, actually I think I need to know. Yeah, I do need to know these numbers. So 1 to 1. So it should be however many units these dotted lines represent. Which if I look on PhD, this one down here is minus 10 arc seconds. So I go minus 10. So my dy is from minus 10 to plus 20. So that would be my dy is 30 arc seconds, right? my dy equals 30 arc seconds. Now my dx is I have one unit, one division of measurement, the dotted line, which is 100 seconds. So my dx equals 100 seconds plus 10.4 so I have a fraction of one of those divisions. So I think this is making sense in my head. Sorry if I'm not communicating it very clearly. So it should be 10.41 divided by 13.32. So this 13.32 inches measurement in SolidWorks here is this one unit of measurement, one bar, and then we have 78% of one. So that would be 0.78 times 100. Oh wow, look at that, it's really easy. 78. So 100 seconds plus 78 seconds. 178. That's pretty easy. So my slope is then becomes 30 divided by 178. So I get 0.168. Actually, it should be 169. I'm going to round it. 0.169 arc seconds per second. Okay. Now we've got to find this post here. Scrolling. There we go. Okay. Okay, we come up with a slope of blah blah blah, which equals. So on this guy's, he calculated 0.16 arc seconds per second, and I got 0.169 arc seconds per second. So I'm in the right ballpark, and it seems like I'm calculating similar data to the similar performance to this guy's mount. 0.16 arc seconds per second. A perfect sine wave with 15 arc second peak to peak amplitude would have given you a worst case slope of around 0.105 arc seconds per second. So indeed your mount is about what is called 60% total harmonic distortion in that waveform. Interesting. We were talking about that earlier, Benji. How I don't like how we use the word second and minute to as a unit of measurement for angular distance. Arc second and arc minute. No, it's arc second, it's not second. But it definitely makes it confusing, right? Because an arc second is a unit of measurement of distance, angular distance, not a measurement of time. So this is a speed, right? This is distance over time, right? It's whatever 30 arc seconds is in degrees, or it's that, 0.0001 degrees per second. So, but yeah, that's just an unfortunate. Whoever decided to name, whenever they were dividing degrees up into subunits, they decided to call them arc minutes and seconds. Somebody was obsessed with looking at a clock or something. Which I guess, if you understand a clock, then it makes it pretty simple to break it down into minutes and seconds. But we're units of measurement of distance, not time. We should have a different word. We shouldn't use the word arc second. We should call it mini arc, arcolecant, something different than arc second. But in any case. If you want the peak error from one axis to accumulate less than 0.1 arc seconds before applying a correction pulse, you will need to apply a correction pulse no longer than 1 per second. And for PHD2 guiding, that means a guide exposure time of no more than 1 second. It says you have one of the better ZWO mounts. If you look in their documentation, you'll find mounts have much higher peak-to-peak error than 15 arc seconds in your mount. Yeah, so this one here shows a higher peak-to-peak error. So kind of what I'm reading here is that it looks like I really just need to do 1 second exposure times for my guiding. Which you kind of knew, like right at the beginning, we're like, oh, you do, you know. We're kind of trying to learn the theory of this so that we can understand why and what we're doing, which will help, tune things better. Yeah, so here's another very important takeaway. With care and studying and understanding your mount, you can auto-guide these strain wave mounts. You just can't use some lazy what is your settings because I want to copy it method, because the characteristics are so different from mount to mount. So that's kind of one of the key things that another key takeaway to get at is that all harmonic drive units, all strain wave gear drive gearboxes units have distinctly different characteristics, and so you can't just copy somebody's settings or what's the best settings. You need to tune them for your specific mount. So he says he just asked people not to use the numbers that are derived above. So mine are pretty darn close because we derived 169 arc seconds per second. And his was 0.16. So in that case, I kind of can, which is helpful. So which is good to know. So let's see. Chen goes on. I can get better than 0.5 arc second total RMS error with my RTS 135. So this is another strain wave gear drive mount, and this is a very expensive one. Rainbow Astro. These guys make high end stuff. This thing's like $6,000, I think. Oh, almost $4,000. So, really nice looking unit. Almost $4,000. They show a Takahashi telescope on it, so. Okay, so Kevin using ASI Air to run his AM5 mount, and we'll be using 1 second exposures. Oh yeah, sorry. He goes on. Okay, I use half second exposure, half second guide exposures, and set my max RA and declination durations to 130 and 180 milliseconds. And setting aggressiveness down to 35% to 40%. So these sound like similar numbers to where I need to be here. So yeah, right now I've got my settings are nowhere near that. So I've got like aggressiveness at 80 and max duration at 250, or sorry, 2500. So we will yeah, so we'll try some of these, an approach similar to this. RST 300, max capacity 50 kilograms. That's a chonkin telescope mount, huh? Oh my gosh, $8,500. It's in there. It's in there, Bigley. It is there's a thread called resources for tuning auto-guided strainwave mounts, and you've commented in it. I don't know if I can post the link. It gave me a link to copies. I don't know if you can just click on that or not, but yeah, it's in that thread. Yeah, $8,500. Yeah, right on. Yeah, yeah, like you've already seen it. No, I know how it is though, because you know there's so much stuff going back and forth. I posted that link, well, 15 days ago, so 2 weeks ago. So yeah, okay, all right. So I'm pretty close to Kevin. So in this case, you know, we literally just got done saying you can't copy somebody's settings and use their settings. But in this case, like, I'm pretty close to Kevin's settings. So I think I can. Yeah, so another major takeaway. The amplitude of the periodic error curve for strainwave geared mounts is only important for visual observers who want to keep the object in view in their eyepiece. Periodic errors for these gears are too large for long exposure astrophotography where you must auto-guide anyway. When auto-guiding, it's the amplitude of the first derivative, the slope of the periodic error curve, that determines how easy the mount it is to guide, not the amplitude of the curve itself. So yeah, that's another big takeaway is, so you might look at the data for that ZWO gives you with those, you know, the reports on the drives, and think, oh, this has a low peak to peak periodic error. But that's not what's important. What's important is the slope. It's important the rate of change, and we get into that more in this thread. What's important is not the amplitude. It's not how much. It's not the magnitude. The amplitude is not how much error you have. It's the rate of change of error. With auto guiding, we want a slow, gentle, gradual change in error. So PhD is like, oh, look, hey guys, we're starting to have some error here. Look at this. Look at it. We're slowly having error. Okay, let's give corrections. Yeah, we can just give nice corrections. A bunch of little corrections. Boop, 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 boop. Little nudge, 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 nudge. Not sudden dramatic change in error where it's like, fuck, oh my God, boop, you know, right? Quick changes. So that's what we want. So if you had a really big error, but it's nice and smooth, gradual change as it goes around, then that's not a big deal. But yeah, higher, steeper slope is the issue. So yeah, one day we'll be able to develop better software so these first derivative mounts can be tamed Yeah. So, yes. So a question that I kind of have is why. So, you know, we've been using periodic PEC as the algorithm for tuning, and that seems to, well, that seemed to work for me, but it didn't work for you, right? Bigly, periodic PEC. So for some people that seems to work, and yeah, maybe there's something to that as well. So we'll play with this. I really wish I could have the telescope set up and guiding right now, so that we could try this. So this is interesting. This is kind of a worst case scenario. So this guy actually has two periodic errors. There's like a double harmonic error in here. Yeah, this guy's is a worst case scenario. Okay, now we have some more information about tuning this. So aggressiveness, this is another value. Aggressiveness is basically classical loop gain. Apply too little and there is large residual error. The RA corrections will not keep up. Apply too much and the loop starts behaving unstable. So we'll see large oscillations. So, I'm kind of making some, yeah, I do have that info here. Kind of just copying some notes here for myself. So yeah, so now we're talking about this guy's report on this guy's mount. Yeah, huge second order harmonic. That's a little double peak. Yeah, good, lots of good information to read here. I encourage everyone to read through this. I'm gonna post the link in the chat. So, okay, and now we've got another a technique for starting here. So, start with low aggressiveness and max pulses of less than half of your exposures. So if you're doing half a second, 500 millisecond exposures, then he says perhaps 200 millisecond max pulse duration. Only increasing the value if you find the guiding cannot keep up with the mount. Try increasing aggressiveness first before increasing max pulse. Remember, RA and declination have different gears, so you will adjust them separately. So that's some more let's see. To use shorter exposures, you'll need to run multi-star guiding. Yeah, we've got that. We've got that down. If all guide stars have about the same signal-to-noise ratio, using 2 stars. Yeah. Yep, so use multi-star guiding, we know that. As to min move, it will not help. Min move, yeah, this is another issue, another setting we have to change. It will not help if the errors are not unidirectional. For declination if you're not perfectly polar aligned. Right. Backlash is not a problem in RA. I actually think backlash is a problem for those of us that are using well, it's a problem in deck, and yeah, for those of us that are using these strainwave gear drives with planetary gearboxes as the primary reduction, we will have backlash in declination. So we want to change that as well. So there's a setting in the ASCOM drivers in the on step. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Let me bring. So in the setup, it's not connected. Oh, there we go. We're good. So we do have backlash in declination. So we'll want to add some backlash in here. So backlash in arc seconds. So I think I want to add this now because I'm going to forget later. I'm not sure if you can add this and it'll update in real time, or if you have to like restart the driver or the on-step controller. Oh, the mount. Yeah, the on-step controller is connected. It's just not plugged in, so I can't power the mount, but the computer is plugged in, so that's why we're able to see it on there. So let's set this. So I want to set this to the. I'm trying to think. I want to set this to the amount of backlash that the manufacturer states for the gearboxes. And so to find that, I'm just going to look at my search my mail here. So I'm just going to go to Stepper Online. And let's see, I think I'm using these guys. Similar enough. And they claim backlash no load less than or equal to 50 arc minutes. So, yeah, is that the one that I got? Model, let's see. 17HS15 158 4S-MG50. Oh, mine says MG5. This says MG50. Oh, it must be this one then. Oh, that's a 50 to 1. This is 5 to 1. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yep. Backlash no load less than or equal to 30 degrees. Okay, that's not really helpful. It better be less than 30 degrees. 30 degrees? That doesn't make any sense at all. I thought I saw this quoted somewhere in here that quoted it in like arc minutes or something. Oh, it's just a typo. So okay, max backlash is 30 arc minutes. They put 30 degrees. 30 degrees of backlash would be gigantic. It'd be like moving. Yeah, yeah, okay. So over here, okay, well, all right, this is not very helpful because now in this page, they say backlash no load less than or equal to 50 arc minutes. So in the description, they say max backlash is 30 arc minutes. This says less than or equal to 50 arc minutes. And then and another thing, it said 30 degrees. So I guess we can't really rely on any of that information, can we? Yeah, that is an LUL situation for sure. Let's take a look at this. I wonder if we see any info on... Okay, on the PDF, the data sheet for the PDF, I'm inclined to believe more than the website. And this says backlash no load. This says backlash no load less than or equal to 30. 30 what? So there's no units given. I think we can go 30 arc minutes. Yeah, LOL 30 degrees. That's not right. Yeah, so this says 30 arc minutes. 30 Kelvin? Yeah, exactly. Put your units there, people. That's quite important. Yeah. Anyways. All right. So we know the backlash is going to be less than 30 arc minutes. And the backlash specification in the on-step driver is in arc seconds. So that would be, so 30 arc minutes would be 30 times 60 arc seconds. Is that math right? 1800, does that sound right? 1800 arc seconds? Yeah, because 1 degree would be 60 arc minutes, and that would be 3600 arc seconds. So I don't think I want to put, you know, it says less than 30 arc minutes of backlash. So I don't think I want to put the full 30 arc minutes or 1800 arc seconds. I'm thinking maybe we split the difference and just call it half. Yep, 1800. Thank you, Benji. I'm thinking we split the difference. I'm thinking we put 900 arc seconds for the declination backlash. And we'll see how that goes. And so my declination guiding isn't, it's not terrible right now, but it could be better. I'm looking here. So if I just look at deck, so I am seeing 0.8, yeah, 0.85 arc seconds RMS in deck. So, you know, so are we seeing kind of signs of backlash in here? Really not getting a lot of, it's kind of hard to know if I'm seeing, you know, signs of backlash in the guide data. I don't know, Jose. That's a good question. I know that, yeah, PhD's guiding assistant does give you backlash info. And in the past when I've run that, yeah, no worries. In the past when I've run that, it tells me that there's not significant backlash in deck. So maybe, yeah, maybe we don't want it. Maybe we don't want this setting. Yeah, this may be hurting me. And maybe we just want to tune the harmonic drive in the guide settings in PhD and not add a backlash setting to the so except I know there's going to be backlash, so so maybe we should run the guiding assistant and come back to it and try again. So there's kind of a couple of different things to experiment with, and we want to, you know, isolate variables, right? So we're not so we're not changing too many things at once. So that's yeah. So which one do we want to work on at a time? You know. I'm inclined to think that I want to have it in the driver, the on-step controller, because I know mechanically there should be some backlash in that stepper. What I don't know is this the measure of backlash in the motor or the stepper planetary gearbox in this case, or is this the amount of backlash that appears like the final effect of the backlash, which would be, you know, because this is going through another reducer, so the backlash that the telescope would see, right, which would be like 100 times less than that, because there's 101 harmonic drive reducer. So does that make sense? Yeah, maybe let's leave it on. We'll leave it on. I'll make some notes for myself. So we'll try it. And if the declination guiding looks like it's going all kinds of crazy, then we'll come back and we'll turn it off. I know OnStep has in their documentation has a procedure for determining how much backlash, and it involves, well, setting it up, and you gotta like look at an object and then slew it and measuring one direction and then the other, and how much time before it moves again. And it seemed really not like an ideal way of doing it. So we're just gonna kind of put a number in there and guess at it. Maybe that's a really bad methodology, but I'm just gonna wing that part of it for now, and we'll see. All right. So let's see. Have we kind of exhausted the subject of tuning these straightaway gear drive mounts? Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. I think we kind of went over everything that we need. Now we just need clear skies to be able to yeah, kind of going over, repeating kind of the same things here. Maybe just a little bit more details here. Remember, when you're tracking a target, the RA axis moves constantly at sidereal rate through the different angles of the RA shaft. As time elapses, it would move completely through one period of the error curve in 430.82 seconds. The declination axis is completely different. If the mount is perfectly polar aligned, won't happen in practice, the declination axis doesn't even move. With imperfect polar alignment, the declination of the mount will make an error path relative to the constant declination in the sky. But this is typically a slow drift. You can observe it by turning the max declination pulse to 0 So PhD is not controlling the declination axis. And you can watch the drift rate for your given polar alignment error. This is how we do drift alignment. So while the RA is moving at about 15 arc seconds per second of time, the declination axis will move very little, perhaps 1 arc second per arc second of time. Moreover, it will be moving back and forth, but centered about a fixed declination motor angle, and only make one cycle in one celestial day instead of 430 seconds for the RA axis. For the declination axis, the optimal max duration pulse is therefore usually much lower than the RA axis. That is if there is no flexure and the RA axis is within a minute of arc or 2 of the pole. Yeah, so you have to tune the 2 separate axes independently. Newbie here, newbie question, where do you set those values in PhD? The max RA pulse and max dec pulse. Yeah, so pretty sure he's talking about in how did I end up? So in PhD, the brain icon gets you to the settings, and then the algorithms tab, and oh, is that max RA pulse and max dec pulse? So we have max pulse or max dec duration. I don't think so I don't know. Oh, on the main guiding screen. Yeah, so these don't show up. Those settings don't show up until I think you are actually guiding. It'll show up down here at the bottom. I think that was the yeah, that was the thing. This thing talks about a little bit more details here. Some good stuff to read about if you're curious about how PhD works. Yeah, so another takeaway is that a lot of us have seen with strain wave gear mounts is this phenomenon where you get really good guiding for a period of time, then you get a minute or a few seconds of really bad guiding, and then back to good guiding. So that's what these guys are talking about here. Good guiding and bad guiding. That's because there are spots in your periodic error curve that has a low first order derivatives, the slope of the curve, while other spots it becomes much larger. Because remember, it's the rate of change of periodic error, not the actual periodic error. If the large errors are momentary, a glitch that only lasts a second or two in time and don't occur often, say only 1 or 2 to 3 times in a long exposure, you can ignore the problems. However, if you're consistently lagging, the slope of the periodic error curve is too high for your parameters. Try increasing the aggressiveness first, but remember to back off when the feedback loop oscillates. If the declination gears have the same quality as the RA gears, the declination pulse duration should not need to be anywhere close to the RA pulse duration. Since you typically don't need to correct the declination axis at a rate anywhere close to the RA's sidereal rate. So that's another good quote. Yeah, one guy's not happy with the performance of his mount, so he just wants to return it, you know. All right, so looking at somebody else's data, the errors consistently make excursions past 1 arc second, so these will definitely register in your images. That's the case with me for sure. Yeah, some more good stuff. Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, at least when it comes to the PhD software, nothing has changed, Myth. I don't think there's been any update to these, to this stuff, or to that software. Yeah, I think that's kind of the gist of it. I wonder if I can connect and... I just want to see the settings down here in PhD. Yeah, okay, so this is where the the length of the pulse to send. So these are where we need to decrease the heck out of those. So we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll play with that when we have clear skies. Okay, I think I've pretty much exhausted this subject for what I want to talk about and look at myself. Kind of mainly, I just wanted to measure that slope for myself and see where I'm at compared to these other guys' mounts, and talk about these things. And cool, man. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. I'm sorry it's not more applicable to your gear specifically, but yeah, more what I'm focusing on right now is just, you know, making my stuff look good. And in that case, I think that's a good way to transition to looking at some data. Let's process some data. I've done this before. I've already processed this, but let's do it again because I haven't done it on the stream. And you know, we like looking at pictures here. And so let's process some data. So this is data that I shot on Sunday night. I was able to sneak the telescope out for a couple of hours and got an hour of data on the Rosette Nebula. And so, I mean, the stars on here, this is the best I think I've been able to do so far. And I'm like close to round. Not quite. Some of them are more egg-shaped than others. More obviously egg-shaped than others. And, but this is kind of the best I've been able to do. Two minute exposure there, Myth. Yeah, thank you, Jose. Yeah, yeah, we'll see. The mount I think is working pretty good, and so I think we can get. you know, so the pixel scale on these images is like it's like 1.4 arc seconds per pixel with the slight reducer, the chroma corrector reducer I have. So you really need guiding to be, you know, better than that in order to get nice round stars, right? And so I'm close to that. This most recent guide section was better than that, but it still wasn't quite good enough to get the you know, the round stars that we want. If we look at the scatter plot, if we look at the scatter, it's still, there's some randomness to it, and there's a lot of really bad stuff in declination, but it still seems to be kind of mostly not, you know, most of the scatter is happening in RA, right? So, which is the direction of the elongation that we see in the stars, right? So, I think we're pretty close to getting this to working the way we want, but not quite there yet. So let me go for another toilet break. I drank that energy drink, and also a lot of water. I have to pee a lot. What can I say? Let me go for a pee break. I'll run the Twitch ad while I do that. We'll come back. We'll switch gears. We'll load up PixInsight. We'll do some processing, and we'll have fun with the Rosette Nebula. So I will BRB. And I remembered to turn the background music down that time before getting started. All right, let's take a look at, let's play with some data here. I've processed this image before, but I'm gonna do it again because it was a fun one. And maybe we'll try get a little bit different results. Obviously not that. Whoops. Process, gotta load process icons. I wish PixInsight would do this by default. Screen transfer function and auto stretch. So here's my Rosette Nebula data. Only an hour of data with the Optolong L Enhance filter. from the Southern California light pollution. No moon. I'm pretty sure the moon had not risen, or it may have just been starting to rise. And so, decently dark skies, decent conditions, although some clouds rolled in later. Just as it was setting, it kind of worked out perfectly. Like, just as it was setting behind the building or some trees, the clouds rolled in, and so that worked out. I don't have any astronomy-based books recommendations. Myth? That's maybe a good question. Because kind of one area where I'm at, sort of in my astrophotography career, is identifying objects that we may want to image or look at. I don't really have a good technique or method for doing that. So, yeah, I may need some recommendations myself. So, this is a really cool comparison of the amount of data that's in here. You look at a single sub-exposure, there's kind of just barely a hint of nebulosity in here, and then we look at the stacked image, we start to see so much in here. And this is when I think I might shoot this one next dark sky trip, which in the past I've been saying, I want to shoot mostly broadband objects out in the desert because, those we can't really shoot in the light pollution. But I love this field of view. It really just fills the whole field of view, and there's some very beautiful colors in the Rosette Nebula that I can't get from the light pollution here. I can get all the hydrogen signal, but that's it. So I just get a red Rosette Nebula, which looks cool. Don't get me wrong, but there is some much more rich color in there. Here to compare is a shot from, what was this, 2015, I think? Oh, I don't have it on there. Yeah, I think this was 2015. And so there's these, look at these, gorgeous, green and blues in here, and purple. So there's a strong hydrogen, or sorry, there's a pretty strong oxygen signal in the middle of there. And yeah, look at all the stars there, right? So this is with a wider field of view. I think this was with this would have been with my Canon 70 to 200 with a 2x extender on it. So 400 millimeter focal length on the camera lens, which gives these kind of ugly star shapes. But there's some really beautiful color in there, and yeah, and here I just get the rust colored palette. So I might shoot this one again. It would be cool to get, kind of this field of view with the new scope and these colors and this star field, and try to get some detail in these dark nebula structures. So, and it'll still be in a good part of the sky to image. For the first half of the night, probably be ideal, because this one will be high. Yeah, right at sunset should be, at first darkness should be high, and then it sets by maybe, well, for me here, it sets behind the building or the tree at, where did I go? Did I go 1 o'clock in the morning? I can't remember if it was midnight or 1. Nothing Blur Exterminator can't fix. Oh, we're going to Blur Exterminate this for sure. So, but yeah, this will be a great object for the first half of the night. So, first thing I need to do actually is crop this image, though. I did not have it auto crop when I stacked it, and what sucks about cropping it now is I'll have to redo the astrometric solution, which isn't that big of a deal, because I've already done it on this image and I know that it'll work. But yeah, that can be a problem. All right. So it's warning me that I'm going to lose the astrometric solution when I crop it. You know, well, yeah, I knew that. Okay, cropped. And I'm going to change the image identifier just to I. And then let's see. Last time I did this, I used Graxpert because it was just quick and easy. But let's try some of the other tools and see if maybe, you know, just to experiment with those a little bit. So we will do some. We need an astrometric solution. We got to redo that with the image solver. And all my settings should be in here. So I'm just gonna hit OK. We'll see if it gets it. It did. So we're good. Okay, so now we'll do the spectrophotometric flux calibration. And when that's done, then we'll try the multi-scale gradient correction tool to see how that does at removing this gradient that I have. We'll just try it with default settings and see what we get. That is correct. Okay. So the question is, did it remove nebulosity? And it totally did. So a lot of red here. You can see it in there. Violent tool names. Yes. Okay. So it way overdid it, which seems to be the case with this multi-scale gradient correction tool, that it just pulls out way too much structure. So let's see, we kind of experiment with different gradient scale. See if that, nope, that makes it way worse. Kind of looks interesting, but that's definitely not right. So maybe we need a much higher gradient scale. I'm gonna reset it. We'll try triple the gradient scale. As I do think we have a very basic, just smooth gradient right to left going on in this image. And so we do get a smooth gradient, but it's still just removing, it's definitely removing, you know, red in there. I have his plugins, and I make extensive use of his plugins, and we may try his gradient removal plugin next. Okay, so undo that. So it seems that gradient scale isn't really what we want. We have structure separation. Maybe let's try 5 on the structure separation. Let's turn that up and see what we get. It just seems like it got really dark. Are there clouds out there? I'm gonna step up for a sec. Yeah, must be a big cloud that the sun passed behind. Let's see. Darks are the frames you don't need to take as often, correct? Yes, that should be often. Like that should be the case. Like you should only ever have to take one set of darks for your camera. You need a dark for, you need dark frames for the same duration of exposure. So assuming you're always shooting 5-minute exposures, then you only need like one set of 5-minute dark frames to go with those. Because dark frames calibrate thermal noise. So the only variable you're changing there is the duration of the image. Same thing with bias frames. There's no such thing as dark bias frames. There's dark flat frames. So same thing with bias and dark flat frames. Bias frames are the minimum. Nope, definitely don't need to take darks every night because it's gonna be the same. Because it's you're assuming you're using a cooled camera. So JB, assuming you're using a cooled camera where you can control the temperature. So if your temperatures are the same in all of your light frames, then you only need that one same duration and same temperature dark frame, right? It's calibrating thermal noise. So if you're different, if your sensors at a different temperature and or your duration of exposures are different, then you will need corresponding dark frames. But if you always shoot the same temperature, same exposure length, then you do not need different dark frames. I don't think that's the case. I thought that was the absolute temperature of the sensor. I could be wrong about that. If I'm wrong about that, then that's not the case. Then you would need different dark frames. I thought you were saying the temperature. Yeah, so it's displayed as sensor temperature, which would be independent of ambient temperature. Cooled camera can drop the sensor from 30 degrees to 0 degrees or sub-0 degrees. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's the case. And you should not necessarily need flats every session, Myth. It's just if you change something with your imaging train setup. Integrated 2-stage TEC thermoelectric cooling reduces sensor temperature to 35 degrees below ambient to enable low noise imaging of faint deep sky objects. Yeah, so so the way that reads it, it does make it sound like the absolute temperature of your sensor will vary with the ambient temperature. However, I mean, I know in Nina, probably in the camera drivers, you set a temperature. You set -10, for example. So does that mean -10 is the absolute sensor of the temperature, or is -10 the ambient temperature? That I don't know. Or -10 below ambient, or -10 the absolute temperature of the sensor. So that I'm not sure. My understanding was that it's absolute temperature of the sensor. I could be wrong. I don't have a cooled camera. I've never had one. I wish I had one, but I could be wrong about that. But I'm usually never wrong most of the time, ever, all the time, sometimes. So we could find out experimentally then, right, Myth? So fire your rig up, or you can figure it out yourself, Jay. Fire your rig up. What does the temperature say for your sensor temp? So if it says if your sensor temp is reading, if it's 0 degrees, 0 degrees C outside, it's freezing. Your sensor temp, you turn your rig on. Your sensor temp says 0 degrees. It's reading ambient temperature, right? Assuming it's in equilibrium. Then cool it to -10. And what does it say? Does it say -10? Okay, cool. Now bring the rig inside, or the next day or whatever, inside where it's warm. What does the temperature sensor say? It says 20 degrees C or whatever. And then cool it to -10. Then does it say -10? Then you'll know, right, whether it's absolute or not. I believe it's absolute, and that's one of the main advantages to a cooled camera is that we have that it can do that. Yeah, well, just measure the temperature outside or inside, or you could do it inside too. What's your temperature inside? Get a thermometer, look at your thermostat or whatever. You know, what's it say? 20 degrees inside or whatever. Then cool it to -10. Then take it outside and do the same thing. Because if it was -20 below, if you set the button, if the setting is -10 below ambient, and it's 0 ambient outside, then it would be -10 outside, right? Yeah, check it inside and outside. That's how you'll know. And that's a test you can do with clouds. We can do that with clouds. Okay, multi-scale gradient correction tool is failing me on this image, so we are not going to use that. Let's try. Jose was telling us about SETI Astro, and yep, bro, I know SETI Astro has his own standalone suite, which is cool, and he's got some videos on his channel that make it look pretty neat, and definitely something I would recommend to somebody who's starting out. They don't want to spend the money on PixInsight, because he's got a lot of really great tools, and so I have his plugins installed here in PixInsight. So we'll try his automatic DBE on this image and see how that does for gradient removal. Yeah. I've been there. I've been there with assuming you know something and then like turning out that it's wrong. I'm not necessarily saying that I know for sure either. Like, right? I don't. Yeah. And oh, right on. You've got a pure extension. Oh, more clouds. Yes. Yes. What's the forecast looking for you tonight there, Myth? I am not available to get the telescope out tonight. Yeah, SETI Astro's background tool also not doing a good job, pulling too much stuff out. Yep, the best thing here is Graxpert. Really glad that we have a bunch of different tools to do this, because otherwise it would be really hard. Yeah, hopefully. And Myth was asking about do I need to take flat frames every session? And I think the real answer to that is, well, first of all, look at how good, I mean, Graxpert is like perfect. I mean, this does like exactly what you want. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll have competing forecasts. So whether or not you take flat frames with every session just depends on how much of a perfectionist you are. If you are the S tier level of perfectionist, then yeah, you take flat frames with every session. And not only with every session, but every filter. Every filter, every session. I do not do that. I've been finding that I just take flat frames with every filter, and I only have 2 different filters. So, flat frames correct for the lack of optical flatness, so like brightness variation across the image, like vignetting, and dust motes. So if you don't take your imaging train apart and dust, so assuming no additional dust settles in there, so you don't take your imaging train apart where dust can get in or something like that, then you shouldn't need to take additional flat frames. But you can always just calibrate the images, and if it doesn't look right, then just take new flat frames. And you can do that at any time because it's not temperature dependent. Yeah, Jay, just set it to the same temperature all the time. No, not bias frames. So bias frames are just sensor performance, right? Those are the minimum. Those calibrate out read noise. So that's just the minimum exposure time. So that's a dark frame of minimum exposure time. So that, yeah, that you can shoot those anytime. Those should be the same. What's up, PP Land? Yeah, so if you take your rig apart, you should take flats for every session. Again, like like as long as you're careful about not letting dust get in there, and or like before you put it together, like blow it off. You know, like get the little squeegee ball thing, and blow the dust off the camera sensor and the filters, and put it together. And you get no additional dust motes in there, then you shouldn't need to calibrate. You shouldn't need new dust or new flat frames, right? But if you get new dust motes that show up, then you'd need new flat frames to calibrate those out. Yeah, I think that's the case, Jay. All right. So Graxpert is the hero. It's just the best. It's one of the best tools. Okay, so now I need like a preview of background, and there's really faint nebulosity in here, so I'll just grab an area like that, and we'll do spectrophotometric color calibration. Ah, yeah, air puffer, yeah. Cool, man. Yeah, flat frames are kind of like the most obnoxious frames to take too, because you got to like get the light panel on there, and it's, unless you've got like a really nice like flat frame, you know, device mounted on your telescope, it's kind of, can be kind of annoying to take those. And maybe this image could benefit from better flat frames. Maybe that's part of the reason why I have such a large gradient on here. So, you know, maybe I would benefit from better flat frames on here, but you know, I don't know. I don't want to take new ones. I don't want to have to do it again. Yeah. Well, the good thing is about the calibration frames, you can always do them again. Except for, so that is one limitation with flat frames, and it's why perfectionists will take flat frames like first thing in the morning, or it's like, you know, you image until sunrise and then you get up at, you know, whatever, 5 in the morning, take flat frames and go back to bed, because if you've got, say you've got a dust mote, on your sensor or something, right? And then you go home and you take your rig apart and you put it back together. Now that dust mote might not be there. So then you take flat frames, and then your new flat frames won't calibrate for that dust mote that was there when you were imaging, right? So ideally you take those flat frames, yeah, after every session, right? So those exist, Jay. I think Myth had one that his dog chewed up. They're like little doors, you know, that fold over the, you know, like a servo, and it folds over the front of the tube. Taka, how do you take your flats? I use the t-shirt. I use a t-shirt and a bright LCD screen. So on my Rokinon rig, I just use my tablet as the light source, and then a t-shirt stretched over the front of the tube. This is too small for the opening on the new telescope, so I have to use a larger LCD screen. Oh, it was just a cover. Got it. Yeah, cover with an LED panel. Yep. Yeah, Jose, our friend Myth has a image sensor that has really bad amp glow. And yeah. That's a newer camera too, isn't it? Like that's kind of disappointing. All right. Colors looking good. Color calibrated on here. Yeah, I think I want to shoot this one out in the desert again. Yeah, and there's these bright stars, and these look really good with my 6-pointed diffraction spikes. There's the before and the after, by the way, for how amazing Blur Exterminator is. Yeah, I mostly like I think there was still a little like residual bit of that of that in there. Yeah, when we first saw your sub come in, I was like, wow, there must be a really bright star next to those two galaxies that I haven't ever seen before. I want to do something. Yeah, Blur Exterminator before and after. Really great. I'm going to bring this into Photoshop real quick. Actually, I'm not going to bring it. I'm just going to take a screenshot. Will be good enough. Actually, these two stars here will probably be okay. I want to measure. I'm going to draw some lines. Yeah, it's... Yeah, your dark showed it up there. Oh, Taka, cool, man. Taka shared his M81, M82 image in the Discord here, if you guys didn't see. That's quite nice. I love the colors. You're using a DSLR, right, Taka? It's not. Is it modified? I'm thinking not modified. But yeah, very nice images here. Bode's Galaxy and the Cigar Galaxy. Yeah, and here's Myth's Amp Glow. Yeah, rather unfortunate. That's like... Seems like something's not right with the camera. Like that shouldn't... Like it's not... Like there's... The sensor's not fully seated or, you know, or something... yeah, something going on with the camera. Oh, look who it is. Oh, cool. Talk. No, you can't bump the mic, cat. Heat exchange across the sensor is exciting ion creating IR light. Interesting. Taka shot his shot of Bodes with the unmodified A600. Or sorry, A6000. I had that camera for a little while. I had one of those. I had one, or I rented one or something. But yeah, that's a cool little camera. We were looking for... Got it. So it's just infrared light going across there. Okay, so what I wanted to do was to just draw a line to sort of evaluate draw 3 lines to evaluate the focus. So I'm not 100% sure if this is a sort of reliable, legitimate way, but I'm pretty sure having these 3 diffraction spikes in here essentially acts as a essentially acts as a Bantinov mask. And I should have made those not, I should have made those not white. There we go. So that's pretty darn good. So I'm pretty sure we can use the alignment of the diffraction spikes to determine how sharp the focus is. And in one of my previous images, they didn't quite intersect. And here we're pretty darn close. We're definitely within error of being able to manually draw these lines, right? Whether or not all three of them intersect at that center point there. So that's good. That's good to know. So that means I got the focus right. And the image looks like it's in focus to me, so I don't care about that. All right, back to this. What's going on, cat? Alrighty, so where were we at? We just blur exterminated. Now let's star exterminate. It's a very small dog. We should get another webcam down here just for Mr. Cat. What's up, Cat? She insisted on sleeping directly on my chest last night, which is a new behavior for her. She'll sleep in the bed with me. She sleeps around my legs and stuff, but she right on top of my chest. And that's definitely not something she's been doing that kind of lately the last, I don't know, month or so, few months. Every now and then. It's very interesting. You want to push the mic around? You want to rub your face on the mic? Ancient Beast does what she wants. Yes. Yeah, you remember this cat, huh? Huh, Mayor West? Look at this cat. This is a damn fine kitty right here. Yeah, keep rubbing your face, pushing the mic around though. Alrighty. Yeah, last night I'm trying to sleep. She right on top of my chest, and then just loudly purring, which is yes, what a nice kitty cat. That's a good cat. Wow, 2 100-pound dogs. Holy crap! I hope you have a king-size bed. Yeah, I think so. I think she may like me. All right, we've murdered the stars out of here. All right, and now with the stars out, we really just see where it was like really just want more data on here, where we've just got a lot of noise. And just little faint kind of hints of signal, and but it's only like an hour of data, right? So we knew it wasn't going to be that good. So hopefully Thursday night we'll get some more data. Yeah, big bet is mandatory. Yeah, yep. You got some nice, some very lovely looking doggos there, Myth. Those Aussies are very cool looking dogs. Oh, we're shedding big time. It's getting warm out, so we need to shed all over the place. Oh my god. It's just like they have all the energy. So what's great about cats is, yeah, once they get to be like 5 years old, then they're just like, maybe even less than that, 3 to 5 years old, then they're just like, I'm gonna sleep all day. Every now and then I just need a lap and pets and food, and then we just sleep all day. How much fur are you gonna shed off of here, huh? All right, so now we'll noise exterminator, and this is where I'm gonna overdo it. I'm gonna do like 90% on 94 on the denoise, and I think we'll see why. When I have images that don't have enough data, I think it's like actually better to do less denoising on there. So, your cat's never stopped shedding? Yeah. Oh yeah. No. She's a full-time shedder. She's a full-time shedder. Jose, I recently found out that cats have half as many neurons as dogs. That's an interesting claim. I think we need some data on that. Turning 50 does that to all of us, yeah. Oh, yeah, that museum's like got a big property, huh, Myth? Which I guess makes sense because it's a railroad museum, right? So there's got to be like a big area for the trains and stuff. So normally I think of a museum, I think of like a building, not like a campus. So this actually did a really nice job. I think I maybe kind of like this. I was literally just saying, oh, I want to do less denoising, but this looks kind of smooth and nice. I maybe not. Noise exterminator for the win here, I think. Yeah, the last time I processed this, I did like way less, but I think I was gonna go with that. This looks, I mean, it definitely would be better with more integration time, more data, but I think it's actually kind of halfway decent. Pretty nice how it is. Yeah, not too bad at all. Oh, a tractor museum. Got it. Well, a train is just a tractor on tracks. A tractor, if you will. Yeah. Yeah, there's this kind of gentle stuff. And then the more kind of detailed structure in here. It's pretty crazy to be able to see like this kind of detail in these dark nebula structures, you know, from the light pollution, right? So I'm gonna run SETI Astro's Perfect Palette Picker, which I'm pretty sure is just gonna give me basically solid color images, but let's take a look at what this does. And this is linear data, so yeah, it'll fit your field of view a bit better, Bigley, because you know, our sensors have the same width. Yours has like twice the height because it's a square. So whereas mine gets kind of cut off, the top and bottom of this object get cut off, you'll get like the whole thing in there. So it's kind of perfect for your field of view. So maybe let's try the HOO one, because it does look like it's giving me a little bit of blue here. This does give a bit of variety of color, but the background gets really kind of ugly blue, but it's overstretched, so it won't quite look like that. Ah, the jellyfish. Yeah, the jellyfish is I think the jellyfish is a lot more difficult. Let me show, let's see. I have a jellyfish image. So this was with my Rokinon. And this one is yeah, this one is faint. So this one, I think this one is more difficult, Bigly. And with my Rokinon lens and that filter, I get these really ugly halos on these bright stars, and these are very difficult to process out. Couldn't really quite get rid of those. So I don't really like this image as much, but maybe with a different, field of view, this would look a bit different. So. Mosaics are really easy in Nina. Nina makes it super easy, Myth. Processing them is a little bit tricky because you got to stitch them together, but they're really cool. Adding a mask before combining the stars, that's an interesting idea, Jose. In this case, in this object, the stars really don't there's not a whole lot of stars kind of in the image to begin with. So, but yeah. Oh, cool. Right on, Benji. Have we seen your rig, Benji? You say that you have a wedge now. What kind of mount were you using that you didn't have a wedge before? No, I only did that because I shot it because I shot it like a dummy. I didn't have to do it that way. Like if I rotated the camera 90, I wouldn't have had to do it. I've actually shot it both ways. So, but you've got that was with the Rokinon lens. So with your field of view, you definitely would need to mosaic it. So. Okay, we're gonna play with this HOO image here. And I think the first thing I'm gonna do is work with the curves, because I don't want this background in here. Actually, no, we'll do histogram trans. Yeah, this is kind of a bummer in the yeah, this is gonna not really work. This background being blue, yeah, it's part of the narrowband recombination process to make it look yeah, so that's just gonna not really work. Oh, right. You have S50. Got you. Cool. Right. Yeah. No. Right on. That's right. No, I remember that you had the S50. All right. We are gonna just work with this one. Yeah, that's not a bad approach. Yeah. So you've got a wedge, so you can run the S50 in equatorial mode. I think I saw somewhere that that's like officially supported now. Like it wasn't, you had to like kind of do something hacky to make it work right. And now I think I saw that it's like officially supported in the firmware, equatorial mode for the S50. So if that's the case, that's great. Because I know people really like the S50. I was thinking like if I was going to recommend a smart telescope to somebody, I was going to recommend the Dwarf. I think the Dwarf 3 by default allows you to set it up in equatorial mode. But if we can do that with the C-Star, I know those are really popular, so yeah, maybe that's a better better solution. Got it. So it's coming. It's a feature that's coming. This is a real difficult image to stretch because of, partially because of such limited data. Maybe something like that. And we'll play with the curves a little bit to get it to look better. Oh, you can track planes with it, Jose? Do you have to like manually track, like hold down a button, or does it lock them and track onto them? That sounds interesting. Jose, are you in, were you the guy that's in, Ontario or Chino, right near me? So you're talking about the Chino airport or the Ontario airport? Pretty much anything in astronomy is the gateway drug. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, right on. If you guys are ever thinking about flying into LA, if you haven't been in Southern California before, at all costs, try not to fly into LAX. It's just a nightmare. Can be a nightmare getting in and out of there, because now you've got to drive through LA freeways. But Ontario is a very nice airport to get in and out of. Very convenient. Right off the freeway, just drive off, pop off, boom, in and out of there. Much less craziness at Ontario. Of course, flights are more expensive in and out of there, but I would much rather. I don't even look for flights out of LAX. Like, it's just not even worth it. I'll fly out of Ontario or not, or I'll walk. I've had drives home from LAX last longer than the flight. Oh, so what's C-Star ALP? Is that the app you use to control them? Buy like 3 more. That would be a great way to accumulate a lot of data, wouldn't it? Oh, that's thankful, Jose. Yeah, commuting from Ontario to LA is just there's no way. Yeah. John Wayne Airport and Ontario are basically the same. So if you're in Orange County, John Wayne Airport, more Inland Empire than Ontario. Yeah, John Wayne's really nice. Depends on where you're trying to go. All right, let's try a bit of local histogram equalization. I always do a little bit of this. Gives you a bit more depth in here. All right, let's do dark structure enhance. Oh, cool. Right on. Is that like a third-party app, or is that from ZWO? Oh, you lived out in LA, Jose? Yeah, I don't think I would want to live in LA. The only thing worse, I mean, I definitely don't want to have to commute there. Yeah. It is third party. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so kind of playing with curves to kind of try to bring up the make this thing a bit brighter, but I don't want to bring up the background. So yeah, maybe I'll just leave it like that. It's kind of dim, but God, there's a lot of really cool detail in here. This is such a neat target. Yeah, I definitely know. Yeah, random air horn. Yeah, I wondered what software he was using. So cool. Now I know. You need a different position, Cat? Let's see. Maybe just some saturation here. Oh yeah, push the mic. Yes, that's for. Whoops. Need the real-time preview. Oh, you know what? Okay, hold on. Actually, I don't want to do that. I want to make a mask. I don't want to saturate these darks in the background. There's kind of some residual kind of gradient or glowing stuff going on. So I want to make a mask. Range selection. Thank you, Taka. Yeah, especially for only an hour. 1 hour and 2 minutes of data. Do I want a range mask or do I want... Yeah, that's probably appropriate. Okay, so I got a mask. I'll invert them. Yeah, I'm actually going to invert the mask first. And I'm going to desaturate that background. So there's kind of some weird residual stuff going on in there. Whoops, I don't want to saturate the mask. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's tricky to when you come back from there. Because you want to time when you leave, so when you arrive back in LA, you're not hitting traffic, right? I drove back from San Francisco one day, and like we left San Francisco in the morning, so of course we're getting back to LA during traffic times, so. Okay, so just a slight desaturation of the background. And now I will invert the mask to saturate the foreground. Oh, actually this is looking kind of weird. Yeah, actually, I think what I want to do now is remove the mask. So I've used a mask to desaturate the background. Now I'll saturate the whole image globally. Yeah, that kind of makes sure I get like a smooth roll off of saturation, so I don't have weird, hard edges to it. So I think we'll go with that. That looks pretty okay. Oh man, how magical that was, right? Yeah. Yeah, it can be rough. It can be rough. Okay, last thing to do is work on the stars, which I use Steady Astro script for that. If I didn't have Steady Astro script to work on these stars, I don't know where I would be. There are my stars. And put stars back in the image. And there we go. Long commute is 40 minutes to do 13 miles. Yeah, that sounds about right, Pippi Land. Jose, it depends on the weather and the time of year. So we've got a few go-to dark sky sites. And yeah, so we'll look at the weather and what site's looking best and the time of year. So for the winter time, the go-to site's probably going to be Panamint Valley. Joshua Tree is just not dark enough. It's not as dark out there. I mean, it's dark, but it's not as dark as it can be. So Panamint Valley is north of there and going to be quite a bit darker. And we're planning, we will go out next week sometime, assuming the weather's good. And at least in terms of just the general forecast, it is looking decent. It's looking, you know, mostly sunny. I did see a little bit of clouds in the forecast, but too far out to get a, you know, specific idea. If you want to, if you'd like to come join us, hit me up in the Discord, the link at the top, and we'll let you know what the details look like. Yeah, 10-day forecast. So just looking at the, you know, I just look at the weather app, you know, stuff for Ridgecrest nearby, where we're gonna be. We see next week we've got, like, you know, sunny and then maybe a little bit of clouds, but, you know, is this daytime or nighttime? Don't know. And then sunny again. So the generalized forecast is looking really good. The week after, some rain coming in, so should be good. Yeah, maybe like Wednesday through Friday or Saturday or something like that. I'd like to get 3 nights out there this time if I can. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll start looking at Wednesday being like the first day, ideally, to head out. So we'll get some more. Hopefully by Sunday we'll have a better idea of the forecast. So. Yeah, no, I totally get that. That's the same thing in SoCal, Benji. Okay, this image is, yeah, that's what I wanted to do with that one. And I will compare it to my previous attempt at processing. Yeah, 3 good nights in a row would be pretty good. So I don't think I really want to be out there for more than 3 nights. But let me go for a piss break real quick. Unfortunately, that means Mr. Cat's gonna have to get up. I run a Twitch ad while I do that, and I'll be back in a minute. Oh, cool, Jose. Yeah, yeah. Don't do a non-work stuff on the work PC. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, we're all in SoCal, and then gather at the dark sky sites, right? So, yeah, it would be good to have more people out there. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, like, I don't think astrophotography is any more expensive than, than other hobbies can be. I mean, I've had, a lot of hobbies can have similar costs, and especially now with things like the sea stars, like it's never been more, affordable and accessible. So, just kind of that niche thing, and people don't realize, that we can actually do this stuff, and it also, I mean, it is rather highly technical and definitely not for everybody. So, yeah, but I don't think, there's plenty of people have spend the same amount on telescopes as other hobbies. If we're talking, jet skis or cycling, I mean, you can spend the same on a bicycle as you can on a really expensive telescope. So, running is probably, maybe that's one of the, although even then there's still plenty of shit they want to sell you, they want to sell you different shoes and fitness trackers and, yeah, I've had many hobbies, and they all seem to have the similar price range, which can be a lot. Yeah. Yeah, we can all. Yeah. Yeah, I mean the great thing about astronomy, and especially now with, is there's such an accessible, such a level of accessibility now with devices like the C Star, and then so you really have. I mean, I think the C Star S30 is what, $350. That's like so $350 is like your minimum, like, bottom line entry. And I mean, that's not nothing, but I mean, that's really cheap. You can't buy a good bicycle for $350. A good bicycle is $2,000. So, people spend money on cars, motorcycles, dirt bikes. So yeah, I don't think money is the issue at all. Money is definitely not an issue. It's just super nerdy stuff, and like most people aren't going to be into stuff like that, and that's fine. Oh, that pier extension is a very satisfying looking, has a very satisfying red color to it. Myth. That's that ZWO red anodized. ZWO is dirt cheap, dude. ZWO, I mean, remember, ZWO completely changed the astronomy game. Before ZWO started making astronomy cameras only came from like a couple of companies, and one of them was like S-Big. And that camera was like, I don't know how much. That camera was like $5 or $10,000 or something like that. ZWO is the first company to put a consumer image sensor from like a DSLR in an astronomy camera package. And I think the ASI 1600 was like, I think it was under $2,000 when it came out, which was completely changed the game for astronomy. And their mounts, their mounts at like $2,500 or something like that. I mean, yeah, that's not cheap, but for what it is, for telescope mounts, it's really not too bad. So, I mean, we were just looking at mounts earlier that are like, $8,000, $4,000 to $8,000. So, ZWO is definitely not a cheap brand, but I mean, not too many years ago, then ZWO was the budget brand. So, yeah, they're definitely not crazy expensive by astronomy gear standards. There you go, PP Land. Yep. Yep. I spend too much money on hobbies to smoke. I do drink beer every now and then, but not that often. So we were looking at, all right, so this is the previous processing result. And so a couple of different takes on it, actually. The new one that I did, I have a lot more contrast, kind of crushed the background a bit more, and a lot more denoising. So it looks smoother and overall. Yeah, the noise is just, I just did a lot more aggressive denoising on there. So, yeah, I guess we can get some, a couple of different takes on there. I'm not sure, I guess this one is better, the new one. Although maybe it's crushed a little bit too much. But, yeah, in any case, we've got, yeah, I kind of don't like how dark the dark nebula structure. This kind of gets crushed to black here versus, well, this just kind of looks like just kind of noisy. So, yeah, I don't know. Either way, it's cool data. What do I think is better, galaxies or nebula? What's up, stupidly intelligent nerd? What do you mean? It's going great. Thanks for being here. So what do you mean? What do I think is better? Like for imaging? That's a good approach, Myth. Yeah. So yeah, it kind of depends on your equipment and your skies. So if you've got a lot of light pollution, some galaxies are just going to get, there's no way you're going to get broadband targets like galaxies to show up regardless, like at all. So it's kind of like, can't even shoot a galaxy. But in the light pollution, we can shoot emission nebula, like this Rosette Nebula here. Because of light pollution filters, we can block out all of the light except for the light that's being emitted by this gas itself. So we can do narrowband imaging. Yeah, okay, for imaging, yeah. So we can do narrowband imaging from the city, from the light pollution. And it's going to be better from the dark skies, but it's still, still something that we can do in the city. But for galaxies, we can't. So for myself and for our friend Myth, when you live in the city and then, can travel to the dark skies, the strategy has been, in the city, best to focus on the, or maybe I should say it the other way around. When you travel to the dark sky sites, because we have such limited time out there, right? Maybe only one night a month or 2 nights a month. Then best to utilize that to shoot broadband targets like galaxies, right? Or reflection nebula that we can't see, that you can't even image at all from the light pollution. And then when you get home to the light pollution, even when there's some moonlight with narrowband filters, you can get images like this. So oh, cool. You have a Skywatcher 200p Classic. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this pic was taken from my balcony in the light pollution in Southern California. Pretty light polluted here, as I'm sure you can imagine. So let's save this. And I can't wait to add more data to it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Thursday night, right, boys? That's what we're hoping for. couple of takes on the same image. So, all right, I think I need to bounce out of here. Yes, Jose, this was shot. Sorry. Why is that? Oh, it's there. Yes, this was shot with the Optilong L Enhance filter, which is a duo narrowband filter, oxygen and hydrogen emission. It's not super narrow. It's actually, I think it still meets the definition of narrowband, but yeah. Yep. Oh, cool, man. Yeah, I'm in like, I'm actually kind of right on the edge of the Bortle 9 because I do have Chino Hills State Park next to me. So there's very few lights out there. So I might be Bortle 8.5, Bortle 8, Bortle 9. But I also have really bright lights on in my apartment complex on the various buildings around here. So yeah, if you're in the any metro city area, you're probably going to be Bortle 8 or 9. What do narrowband filters do exactly? They block all incoming light except for specific wavelengths of light. I wonder if you can find some. Yeah, so here's some good explanations. So this image here, yeah, whoops. Trying to zoom that in so we can see a little bit better. Yeah, so this graph here. So here's the RGB spectrum, the visible spectrum of light. So narrowband filters block all but specifically these wavelengths of light, depending on which. There's many different range of narrowband filters. And so the filter I use is a dual narrowband filter. It allows transmission of hydrogen alpha around the 650 nanometer range and the hydrogen beta and oxygen. So in this 450 to 500 range. So mine allows just blue and blue-green and red light to pass. So that blocks out most of the light pollution, which exists somewhere on the broadband spectrum, because light pollution is just like white lights, right? Yes. So you will be losing light for sure. You will be losing light, but that's okay because you can add saturation back in later, and it depends on how you combine the narrowband images. So yeah, you do lose data, but mostly it's data that you don't want anyways, unless it's a broadband target like a galaxy or something. So it's not that you're losing color, you're losing light. So like this is, don't think of it as the amount of color that you're losing, it's just the amount of light that you're losing. I'll post this, give a read up on that article, and that will, oh, yeah, maybe that second one. I hit the plus button along with the enter. So, yeah, read up on this article about narrowband imaging, and very cool what we can do in the city and the light pollution. So, oh, cool. Yeah, I think I need more narrower in this light pollution here, because I tend to miss out on a lot of the oxygen data where I'm at. A lot of the O3, a lot of the bluish greens get lost. So I think I would benefit from a bit narrower filter. And one of these days, maybe we'll try it. So, but we're losing. It won't be for a few months until we get we're kind of losing the emission nebula from the night sky, at least where I can view from the balcony. So, yeah. Yeah, that's basically right, nerd. That's basically correct. But you don't want to think about it as getting color. You want to think about it as getting specific wavelengths of light, and then we take that and we map that to a color. Right? We're not. Color is just a wavelength of light that is interpreted by our brains, really. So that could lead into a rabbit hole of a discussion about narrowband imaging and wavelengths and colors, and which is all very cool, very, very cool stuff that we learn about because of astronomy, and it's a lot of fun. So check us out. I'm gonna bounce off. I need to eat some food, and I got some other things to work on. Very grateful for you guys for being here, and for you guys that are new, check out the Discord, Stupidly Intelligent Nerd. If you have more questions about imaging and astrophotography up there, maybe check us out in there. And we've got a cool community who can help you out. And when I'm not on, planning to stream tomorrow night. Fingers crossed for clear skies. The forecast looks really good, but we've had this high cloud stuff. It's kind of difficult to forecast, and some uncertainty, right? So, yeah. Hopefully tomorrow night we get the telescope out. We can work on tuning the telescope and the mount. Hopefully we can get our guiding to work a little bit better, and get more round stars and get more data on this Rosette Nebula shot, which I'm really liking. So hopefully we will have that. All right. We've got a few people here on Twitch. Should we get a raid going? There's somebody we would like to raid. Oh. We should probably raid Paleontologizing. Oh, he's doing cool stuff. Yeah, we'll take you guys over to Paleontologizing, because dinosaurs are awesome. For those of you guys that are watching on YouTube, you don't get to participate in the raid, unfortunately. Well, you can come over to Twitch and then participate in the raid. Raids are very cool. So let's go. We've done this. I think we've raided him before, and dinosaurs are cool. Unless there's somebody else in science and technology that are doing cool stuff. Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't want to spend too much time looking. All right, let's go hang out with Paleontologizing. Where is? Oh, there he is. We'll learn about dinosaurs, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for being here.